Let's get into the review and talking about what I think about this head and this cab. Again, the head it's an Eden. It's obviously by Eden, who have been going for years. I can remember I've had Eden heads. I've had like the World Tour head, which is killer, and I've had all the cabs, XLT, 4x10 XLT and stuff like that. Really high-end stuff. I can remember back in the day that Gary Willis used to play with them guys, Elaine Caron used to play with them guys, okay? And so I've used their stuff, and it's always on point. This is not aimed at that sort of like high-end market. It's in the lower-end market. I think these retail in the UK, I say retail, you know, it depends which shop you go to, but it's just sort of like over 400 quid. For the head, and in dollars, I've seen it lurking for around $500 online. So it's in that kind of in the realms of that kind of thing. Something that's peculiar to me personally is they've called it the TN226, but it's actually 225 watts. I don't know why they added the 226. Maybe they were inspired by Nigel Tufnell going to 11 from Spinal Tap, I don't know. But yeah, so it's a TN226. They do a 500 watt version as well, or a higher wattage version as well. So if you do need that, definitely check those out. The switches on the back, it's all as you'd expect. We've got like an optional foot switch, we've got a tuner out, we've got an effects loop. We've got pre and post, for the DI, we've got pre and post, so you can send it without the amp EQ or with the amp EQ, or should I say after the amp EQ or before the amp EQ. We've got the DI out level, and we've got ground lift, stuff that you'd expect on an amp like this. You've got an aux in, and you've got phones as well, so you can practice. So I'm assuming you can put your iPod or whatever into the aux in, and then out of the phones, so you can play along with your favourite backing tracks and all of those shenanigans. And then we've just got a speak on out, obviously. So yeah, everything is as expected on the back. The actual case in itself, and the weight's pretty light. I wouldn't say it's sort of like uber light. It's not one of those uber light ones, but it's absolutely easy to maneuver around. On a personal note, I do think that people are becoming obsessed with the weight of amps. I understand that some people have got bad backs and stuff like that, so they need to, but you know, something like this it's light enough. You know, can you remember when phones were getting smaller and smaller? Can you remember this, Gav? And Nokia had it was almost you used to need to like have a pin to press the buttons, right? Right. I think that this is going on with amps. I think we're going through the life cycle of amps at the minute is right in the midst of this. We need them to be really small and really, and really light. So just a heads up not to get caught up in that, guys, if you don't really need it to be super light, okay? I'm not saying go out and buy a backbreaker, but just, it's something to point out, not to get caught up in the shenanigans that's going on in that side of the thing. But yeah, so it's a cool sort of like build. The cool things are, I want to point out, is that I do like these rubber strips on the bottom. These are really nice because it just stops it sliding around. And also you've got rackies as well that are attached to the bottom, so you can take these off and fix them on the side of the amp, and then it can be rack mountable. So that is really cool, because I've definitely been in a situation before where I've wanted to rack mount an amp and I'm just a little bit lazy and I haven't ordered any, so it just floats around on top of my cab for some of the gigs that I've been doing. But having those rack mount ears actually attached to the bottom of the amp is, never drop the amp. I should say that. It's robust. Never, it's robust, I've just dropped it. But yeah, it's super helpful. In terms of the functionality, it's essentially really versatile. So I'll talk you through left to right, okay? So first of all, we've got an input for active. So if you've got a hotter bass, you can stick it in the active, and then you've got a passive bass, which is what we've got this bass into today. Moving across, I'll talk you through the buttons first. We've got a mute button, does what it says in the packet. Okay, mutes it. We've got so one thing I would say about these buttons is I just wish Eden had spent a couple more quid on some buttons, because I think the buttons are a little bit flimsy, guys. I really wish they'd just spent a couple more quid on that. And I say that because the knobs, the dials, whatever you call them, they're super nice. They are really nice, and they've got this rubbery texture to them, and they're just super nice to use. But I do wish they'd spent a couple more quid on the buttons, because they are quite flimsy and plasticky. But you've got a compression button, which is just like an overall compression. That was it with it on. It's really subtle, but it's there. Then you've got the input gain, which obviously works with the master control over here. What you should do, guys, is set your input gain so it's not clipping, and then you use your master as the actual master volume, just in case nobody knows that. Then you've got this thing called enhance. And what the enhance button does is it kicks in like a pre-EQ. So what you'll find is you can put the enhance on and off using this little button down here, on and off. If I just put... Okay, so, and then if I put it on, no difference, right? So it only makes a difference when you start using this enhanced control, and all it does is boost bass, boost treble, and cuts mid, okay? The more you boost it, the more it boosts them frequencies and cuts the mid frequencies down. So if I play just an A, hear that? So I'll do off 12 and full on, okay? 12 o'clock. Okay, full on. Okay, so you might, if you all the way off. I prefer it off, but it depends what kind of tone you're going for. So let's move on from there. Like, it's a cool little feature. I don't think I'll be using it that much because I'm kind of more into finding my own EQ. So, but it is nice just if you want to mess around with that little control there. The bass is really nice actually. I'll put it at 3 o'clock. It's nice, it's fun. Okay, and then obviously you can put it right up. But what's interesting is this bass boost. So what you'd think is that it just boosts the bass, which essentially it does, but it's boosting a little bit of a different frequency. So by just cranking up the bass, you can't get it to sound exactly like just pressing the bass boost. Okay, it sounds, how I describe the bass boost is it just adds a bit more creaminess to the bass, and I like it. I'm always a little bit suspect of bass boosts, but I put it on, I was like, it works great. You can boost the bass. Just in case anybody's wondering, what I really like to do is start with a flat EQ. It gives you a sort of like a blank sheet of paper, as it were, to work with. Once you've got it flat, then you can dial in your other frequencies. And generally, I do boost the bass a little bit. But, let's keep that bass boost in. yeah, I really like it. Really like it. Then moving on to the low mid and the high mid, you've got, it's a parametric thing, right? So that means you can cut and boost the low mid, but you can also choose which frequency you're going to boost. So for instance, and low mid really helps you be heard in the mix. Okay, so if you're ever getting lost in the mix, it's good to use that low mid. So for instance, let's boost. In fact, let me just show you this in practice. I'm going to play that mid. Let's boost the low mid to 3 o'clock, and then I'm just going to sweep back. Okay, that's the parametric all the way down to 30 hertz, and then hear that? It's like a wah-wah, right? Yeah, that's what a wah-wah pedal does actually. So you can, like for me, I'd probably give it a little bit more poke by maybe putting the low mid to about 2 o'clock, and then on the parametric, and then just boost it there. So. Sorry, just reminded me of that. Yeah, so that's what the low mid can do. The high mid, the same thing, right? You can boost or cut it down here, and then you can use the parametric. So if I boost it, and then I'm just going to sweep it through. Okay, you can choose which frequency that you're cutting or boosting. So, and that's why it's super versatile, you know, which is why I like it. The treble, well, does what it says on the packet. It alters the treble, and then the master volume is right here. So that's the head in a nutshell. And just sort of like final closing thoughts on the head is that, you know, I really do like it. I think it's got a good workable EQ, and you can get a lot of sounds out of it. As I said, I wish the buttons were, you know, a bit tougher, so they weren't going to fall to pieces. The enhance, I'm not a huge fan of this because I like to customize my tone. I don't like to use a pre-given tone. But for some of you guys out there, that it might work a treat, you know. But overall, it's a great little head, and I'm really into it. And I also just want to mention this cab because it's badass. It's really badass. It's not light. It's not one of those light cabs. It is on the heavier side. I think it's £70, £71, £72. But it's a great head. It's a great head, and you could absolutely gig with this with no troubles at all. Yeah, I'm like a real fan of the 4x10 sound as well. Even though I do use two 1x, down here, two 1x12s. The reason I use two 1x12s is that it's just easier to lift on my own. You know, if I've got, you know, I need to get into the car and stuff like that, I don't want to be lugging a big 410 on my own. But if you're, and that's because I'm a freelance musician, I generally move a lot of my own gear, or it's hired in and I don't move it. So yeah, and it comes with casters as well, which is super, super cool because it gives you the ability to, well, wheel it to your car, and then you just have to do the one big lift yourself into the trunk. Check me out, trunk. I even thought to myself, I was like, gonna get you US guys in their trunk. We call them boots over here in the UK. Into your boot, into your trunk. But yeah, and there's handles on the side. But yeah, it's a killer cab, and I'm always really impressed with Eden's cabs. They always come up to the bar when they're doing that side of stuff. But yeah, so anyway, guys, that's my review of this piece of kit. Super nice stuff.